it's nice with the ice so smooth. If you messin' me, you messin' with the goons. Pucks in deep 5-hole, then we selly. Hockey with the boys and we trip like Letter Kenny. With dollar bills, we got the loonies. Paul and Braydon, a couple beauties. Gloves coming off if you want to tangle, or I can hit you with the Dirty Dangles. Yeah, this is Dirty Dangles.
Whoa, what is up, Dirty Danglers? That there was Kairos, K-I-R-O-S, the best from the west side of Kelowna. It's your boy, Braydon's trade deadline.
It's favorite day of the year.
Yeah, let's get it. So, for those of you that don't know, trade deadline is February 25th, I believe 3 p.m. Eastern. And we're hoping to educate everyone on what we feel will transpire and what teams should look at what assets.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to lighten the mood to start out the podcast a little bit. So we have a segment called Dirty or Dangles. So it's pretty much what Paul and I think are either dirty or dangles. Yeah. Pretty simple, right? So to start it off, Paul, Gritty, dirty or dangles?
Straight dangles, boys. Gritty is the man.
Gritty.
Well, actually, he's not a man. I don't know what he is.
Yeah, he's not a man.
He's basically he's like Jakub Voracek when he's like 40.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. I just I'm an old school guy, and all this mascot stuff I just am not a fan of.
Oh, you're so fun, Braydon.
All right. I know.
Hey, you gotta love it though. Somebody's got to talk about Philly, right?
I guess so, but I mean, had to be gritty, really? Come on.
Yeah.
They have Giroux. Let's go now. Come on.
Yeah. All right, what we got next?
All right, Paul. Phone at concerts. Dirty or dangles?
Phones at concerts. All right, my take on this is you need the healthy balance. It's like anything in life. What I think everybody should do is you want to record a memory of you at that concert, right? So, you know what? Just take the phone out. Don't go to Snapchat. Do a 1-minute video with your boys and, get some of the good songs in there, just some of the good sections, and then just enjoy the concert.
I guess, but I don't know, yeah, okay, you know what? No, I agree with that. I agree with what you said. It makes sense. You want to have the memories, and like you said, enjoy the concert. You don't need to be on the phone all the time. You go to a concert for a reason.
Yeah, and I mean, to record a 10-second snap, in the best part of the song, that, to me, that's, the climax of that should be, you enjoying it, not, recording it on your phone.
Exactly. All right, anyway, let's move on.
This is a hockey pod.
Exactly. All right, so speaking of the hockey pod.
Hockey guy.
Okay, Paul. Dirty or dangles? Contracts that are signing bonus heavy.
Yeah, you know what? With this one, the reason I say dirty to this is because not all the teams can afford it. We got a 31-team league. A lot of these markets are non-hockey markets. They're losing money, and you're going to be signing players to heavy signing bonuses at the beginning of the contracts, upwards of $12 million a year on January 1st. I say dirty. Plus, as the season goes on, you're not paying straight salary. You're only paying him the minimum salary because you already paid the full signing bonus. So cap structure wise, it doesn't work.
I think it's dangles just simply for the fact that it protects the players from a potential lockout, which could happen. So guys like Tavares, who signed all that money, they're protected. They're going to get that money guaranteed. So I don't know. For me, I think it's dangles because it works for the players. I get it. It makes an impact on the team, but overall it works.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one, the Surge from the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah. Straight dangles here. I love it. You know what? This is a non-traditional hockey market. And I feel like this is their way to make sure fans don't leave to go to their cars early.
Run away.
Well, you know what? Okay, first of all, Carolina, I'm pretty sure their stadium's out in the middle of nowhere. They have 3 times the parking lot of anybody else. You don't need to leave the game early to beat the traffic. There's no traffic. And then that's why I think it's great. You have these celebrations and
it's stupid. It's so juvenile.
But we're talking about it. right?
Because it's so.
Are we talking about
it's
the Carolina
pathetic.
Hurricanes?
I hope some. I don't know if you guys already know, but I think it's dirty. It's so juvenile. It's so distasteful. I personally hate it. We'll be talking about this in a later podcast, but I think this is such a stupid thing. They're just such a bunch of jerks.
Bunch of jerks. Yeah, and they made a T-shirt of that slogan after Don Cherry quoted.
I would hate to be on this team, but you know what? This is for a later pod. We just wanted to get it out there.
And hey, the guy who came up with this idea was Justin Williams, former Stanley Cup winner with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So
let's just get going. Let's keep going with this. All right, Paul. Alberta drivers.
Let me
Dirty
tell you,
Dangles.
Alberta plates, red plates, whoever you are. You know, you guys want pipelines, you want all this stuff, but you don't know how to drive. I'm sorry. Like, you come through the Okanagan, you think it's just straightaways, and it's just not. You know, we got hills, we got corners. Alberta drivers, the worst.
Couldn't agree more. Dirty. All right, man. So that will end it for the Dirty Dangles segment.
Dirtier than Edmonton. Sorry, just had to pull that up.
Yeah.
I hate on Edmonton.
No disagreeing there. All right, so what do we got next, Paul?
For a Dirty or Dangles segment?
No. We're moving on from that now.
Oh, okay. Okay, boys. We're going to
We gotta
talk
get
about the
into
Ottawa
them.
Senators.
Yeah, we got to get into this.
They made a big trade, big splash, Braydon.
Yep. So they made a huge trade, a trade that I disagree with. I trade that Ottawa just lost. They traded Matt Duchene to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I'll give you the entirety of the trade. So Ottawa acquired Vitaly Abramov, Jonathan Davidson, a first-round pick in 2019, and a conditional first-rounder in 2020. I mean, we'll get into the conditional later, but Columbus acquired Matt Duchene and Julius Bergman. So what do you think about the trade?
Yeah, so first off, it's basically a first-round pick and fringe prospects. That conditional pick is if they re-sign Matt Duchene.
Which is ridiculous because I think they should have gotten that pick regardless. Or at least at the minimum, it should have been a second-rounder. That's how I see it. Like, because you don't know if Duchene's going to sign with them. And it could completely blow up in Ottawa's face.
Well, what Ottawa wanted to do is they had, as they saw it, 3 big fish to sell out at the deadline. And that's Ryan Dzingel, Mark Stone, and Matt Duchene. So the way they see things is, hey, let's get Matt Duchene out of the way. Our biggest fish is Mark Stone. There's reports that today, while we're filming, the Ottawa Senators are looking to move Ryan Dzingel.
We could break it for you right here.
Yeah, who knows? And so that's kind of like their view on things.
But don't you think that since they got Duchene from Colorado, and they're probably going to be the last place team in the league this year, and Colorado's going to get that first overall pick, don't you think that they should have gotten something, obviously it won't be as equivalent to that, but something pretty close? That's why I think they should have traded him to a team like Nashville, or they could have gotten a guy like Tolvanen, one of their highest rated prospect. I think he would have been a great fit coming back to Ottawa. It would have helped the rebuild process go a little bit quicker. Or even traded to Winnipeg. Try to get the guy like Sami Niku, a guy that they highly covet for a defensive prospect.
When you try to get guys like that, though, you basically are trying to wait the other team out, because those teams, like you said, Nashville, are not looking to give up Tolvanen. Winnipeg's not looking to give up some of their young studs. So, you know what? Like I definitely see it, but they have some big fish to sell, and they need to make sure that they're getting fair value, or at least making sure they sell the asset.
No,
or the organization and the fan base will.
I agree. I just think that I agree to a certain point, but I feel like Ottawa should have gone a lot more. But let's move on to where do you think Mark Stone's going to go to?
Mark Stone?
Yeah.
I see there's reports out of Winnipeg. I
don't see the fit there.
Well, to me, everybody knows Winnipeg is just having elite wingers, right? So I don't see the fit. It's just tough because they know they have to add a piece that's like good defensively, that's a top 6 forward,
Right.
Whether or not it's a wing or a center, we'll get into that later. But so where do you see him fitting?
Well, I don't know, because there's only so few teams that are going to go for these high-end guys. I see a good fit in Nashville because they have a spot, because he's a right winger, right? They have a spot on that top line for the right wing. They have Kevin Fiala, who's been struggling. So I can see Fiala coming back in that deal and Stone being placed into that. I think it's a good fit, but a team like Boston could really use a guy like that. Puts up numbers, can play on the power play. I think any contending team would love to have him. It's just I think Nashville is probably the best fit right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do like Calgary though.
I don't see the fit there.
I see a fit because this is a team that is 1 year removed from having issues due to their forward depth. And now that's kind of, nobody's been talking about that because they've had some prospects come up and play key roles for them. I think that Mark Stone would play very well on that second line, or possibly take Lindholm's spot, Elias Lindholm, right wing, for that first line right wing spot. And he would move out Frolik from the second line on that right wing spot. To me, he's a fit there. I don't know if Calgary has the assets to pay for them. They have some young studs.
Dylan Dubé would have to be a part of that deal.
Yeah. Well, it's fair. You know what? I definitely think if you're picking up a piece like Mark Stone, it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Braydon, I think a key point of this is you look at Ottawa's history with prior deals. If you look at the Matt Duchene deal, they had that conditional pick in case he re-signed with Columbus. So I think Ottawa wants to make sure they get a piece moved to a place where they actually think he'd re-sign with. And that's why your point of Nashville wouldn't be bad, because everybody loves Nashville. That's like the new trendy place to go to for players just because of the market. No state tax down there for players. They get more money.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's interesting. Ottawa is a team that you never really know where they're going to go, because I don't think anybody really saw Duchene going to Columbus. So, I mean, we'll see. But quickly on Ryan Dzingel.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Ryan Dzingel is a really good centerman. It's kind of a shame that he's leaving that Ottawa system.
He's a left winger, bud.
Sorry?
He's a left winger, bud.
Well, he's played at center.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a left winger.
Yeah, but I don't just look at hockey DB, Braydon. I know the players. Okay. He's also played center, boys.
All right.
Anyway, so you got a player that can play all over the ice, 200-foot game. Apparently he's going to fetch multiple picks. That's the report right now. I could see him getting moved for a second and a fourth.
Yeah.
But I would be pushing second and a third. And you know what? I don't really agree with the fact Ottawa wants to focus on moving him out so they can focus on other pieces. I think Dzingel's one of those pieces that you can definitely move out prior to the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline and get that second and a third.
Yeah, I agree.
There's not many other centers that can do what he can do. And if you look at the asking price for other centers that are lesser an asset, you can definitely get more value, fetch more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's I have an idea that he might go to the Islanders. Yeah. I think it's a good fit.
I actually agree with that. I didn't think about that one.
Yeah, I think it would be really nice. He can fit on he can play on either the first or second line, play with Barzal. I think it would be a good fit for them.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So we're gonna predict that one, I think.
Yeah.
And so do you want to talk about Kevin Hayes now?
Yeah, we can go for it. Yeah. What's your take on him?
All right, so Kevin Hayes, New York Rangers centerman, very good 1B, 2A center, and I feel like he can play. He can play up and down the lineup, but I feel like he's really good as a defensive centerman. I don't think that any team would really want to sign him to an extension, I definitely think he's a rental candidate. And by the way, for all the viewers, these are all expiring deals. It's kind of what the trade deadlines turn into, is you trade off expiring assets, and then you make the bigger trades at the draft. So, but Kevin Hayes, I see him going to Winnipeg. Winnipeg last year, they made a move for Paul Stastny at the center position, and he helped them get to the conference final. Yeah. And I think Kevin Hayes is that piece where he just fits so well with the players around him and, like, complements them. I think he can really get a guy like Laine going, and I just feel like he'd be a great piece.
I haven't really seen Hayes play too much. Is he like a grittier kind of player?
Yeah, but he's also got an eye for the net. He's a goal scorer, but he just goes to the right places. He's a smart player, and he makes the players around him better. And like I said, he's good in his defensive zone. The only knock on him was his skating, and that's why a lot of people don't think he's going to get the term that other free agents that have his point totals are going to get.
Right. Well, being a center, again, he could end up going to Nashville. Nashville needs a second-line center. Kyle Turris isn't really doing the job for them. He's been having a really slumping season. So having a guy like that, having a guy like that in Nashville, I think would probably complement the power play a little bit more. Would have a little bit more tough of a power forward.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think, though, that Winnipeg, they're the type of team where when they got the guy that they want, they will outbid anybody else for it. And I think that's going to be the case with Kevin Hayes. Although we're hearing reports that they like Mark Stone, so they might try to use that first-round pick that they're looking to give up for a guy like Mark Stone. But if that doesn't go through, I definitely think Kevin Hayes is in play and it's going to Winnipeg.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. All right, so the next guy, I know you have a different take on it, but I think Wayne Simmonds might get traded, and I think he will get traded. I think he's a tough player, and I think a great team for him to go to is Toronto. I didn't see the game, but what I've been hearing is that Toronto wasn't tough enough against St. Louis, and St. Louis just ran him to the ground. And having a guy like Simmonds would really complement that team.
Yeah, so Wayne Simmonds, right winger for Philadelphia, gritty player, has a scoring touch, having an off year, expiring UFA. To me, so Toronto doesn't have their first round pick anymore. Mm-hmm. They don't have many assets to really give up other than, say, a prospect and that second round pick. I think that they got bigger needs than the Grits on the wing.
Well, I agree. I think defense is still an issue for them. I think they need that right-hand shot. So, I mean, they could go to they could go to Carolina, but Wayne Simmonds could be that guy also, because I don't think you have to give much for him. He's having an off year. You could probably give him maybe like a third and a prospect. I think they would take that.
A third and a prospect for Wayne Simmonds. Well, it depends on the prospect. It would definitely have to be a prospect towards the needle, because I think Wayne Simmonds can fetch you a second and a fourth, or a second and a third.
Well, exactly, but I don't know if Kyle Dubas would like to give up a second because they don't have their first, right? So I don't know. It's a tough one to negotiate, but it might happen.
Yeah.
But talking about Carolina there, I think Ferland was another guy we were talking about that could potentially go to Toronto. He could go anywhere. He's such a versatile player that any playoff team would love to have.
So Ferland is right winger for the Carolina Hurricanes, coming off that trade from Calgary, less than a year back. He's a really gritty player. He's going to command a lot in free agency, so this is a purely rental. This guy's a great playoff performer. If it was me, I would rather have Ferland than Wayne Simmonds.
I think I would agree with that as well.
So that would mean that he would be higher value than Simmonds, and he would be everybody's A player that they want, because all the teams probably would think the same, right? And I think Ferland could fetch a first-round pick.
At this rate, he could. I don't know if teams are willing to give that up just because he's on the expiring deal, and he is this is really his first breakout season.
Yeah.
but he does perform well in the playoffs. So I mean, if you give him to the right team, the right playoff team, they could fetch him a first. I don't see it happening, but they could.
And we're hearing reports about Ferland. The thing is Carolina's in a playoff spot, so they're kind of in the position where they can just, kind of ride it out right up to the deadline. And if they get an offer that they think is more than fair, then they go through with it. But they aren't exactly like really pinned in to have to move this guy.
No, I agree. It's Carolina could do a bunch of stuff because they're in the thick of the playoff hunt, so they could either keep him and go for it. But sticking with Carolina, their defensive core, I think they're all on the trading block. They can go anywhere. So what do you think of their defense?
I really like their defense. I think that if they were in a playoff spot, we'd be talking about them a lot more. But since they are, I don't think anybody moves out of there except for Dougie Hamilton.
Not even Brett Pesce?
No. I do think they like him, and I think that they're looking at the playoffs. I mean, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in, I believe, 9 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Right? Basically, like, since their Stanley Cup victory.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, anyway. So...
Yeah, it's hard to see any of their top end defensemen, moving out of there because they are right in the playoff hunt. I would like to get into Florida for a second because I think they're gonna move out a bunch of guys. One of them being Huberdeau. I think Huberdeau he's kind of fallen down off the trade block a little bit, but the guy has a reasonable term. And I think a team like Montreal could really go for a guy like that. He could help that team on the power play. He's such a versatile guy. He's underrated.
Is it because he's French?
That might have an
Huberdeau.
Yeah, there you go. But I think that a guy like Huberdeau could really help Montreal. I don't know what's your thought?
Yeah, you know what? He's definitely a winger that drives play. The thing is, they have so many of those.
Yeah.
Right, like Max Domi. Basically up and down their lineup, they kind of have that sort of a player. So,
see, but for me, watch Montreal. They're my dark horse team this trade deadline. We haven't been talking much about them.
No, we haven't.
I think they're gonna make a trade, and they're right there. They have the first wild card spot. And I think if they played a certain team in the playoffs, I think they could win. And having a guy, and I know Bergevin has been going on record saying that he won't give up his first rounder for a guy that's expiring. So I think a guy like Huberdeau could, he can trade that first rounder for a guy like him with a lot of term, controllable. I think it would be a good fit.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, and another guy that we were talking about earlier was Hoffman. What's your take on Hoffman?
So Hoffman is. Yeah, I'm not too sure. If I'm Florida, I'm definitely hanging on to him just because, like, the value you're going to trade from the end of this year could be the same thing you're going to fetch for him next year. He's got 2 years left.
Right.
This year and next. So I would just trade him next year.
I don't know. If I was a team like Dallas, I think I would make a run for him. I think he'd be a good fit in Dallas.
But, like, the thing is he was bought at low value, like, low pennies on the dollar, basically. I think that unless you're getting like market value for him, there's no reason to sell because he has a year left on his contract.
I get your point, but I think that since Florida has just been dropping off, I think they want to start a rebuild process, a smaller one, because they still are a really good team. I think that they might sell these kind of guys and just try to rebuild a little bit more.
I totally disagree. Florida's not rebuilding. And we're going to get into the Panarin deal and all that with Columbus, but basically the front runners to get Panarin and Bobrovsky right now are Florida, and that's not something the rebuilding team would do.
Well, speaking of Panarin and Bobrovsky, let's talk about them.
Yeah, so Panarin is winger for the Columbus Blue Jackets, expiring deal. Same with Bobrovsky, Columbus Blue Jackets, expiring deal. Elite goaltender, Vezina winner.
Elite shooter.
Yeah.
Just elite player.
Yeah, you know what? I think that they made a great deal in getting Matt Duchene to kind of give them a decent center to maybe play a couple games with and see how it works with Panarin. I don't see them moving Panarin. This is a fan base that has never won a playoff round ever. So you're telling me that you're going to move out your best player when you maybe have the best chance ever to win a playoff round?
Yeah, that is very true. I don't know. It's a really tough spot that Jarmo Kekalainen has right now.
Jarmo who?
Kekalainen.
Okay, just checking if you said it right.
Sorry. But anyways, yeah, I think he's been put into a tricky situation because obviously Panarin's their best player. You don't want to lose him for nothing. So before they got before they acquired Duchesne, I was like, he's gone. There's no way. But after acquiring him, it's like, well, you kind of want to keep him because there is a really good shot that they can advance far into the playoffs, right? So I don't know. It's a really tough situation for me. I might still look at trading him. It'd have to be a trade to blow you out of the water, though.
The thing is he's in a good situation in the way that he's gonna get his price if he moves him. If he doesn't move him, you know what? He just rides him out as a playoff chip, as a playoff piece. And in the past, teams that have gone to the deadline kind of like nonchalant about moving a guy or not, they've usually recouped a lot more. So that is why I think that Panarin's going to ultimately, I believe he's going to stay, but if he goes, it's going to be a big haul.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to fetch you multiple first rounders. It's going to fetch you that high-end prospect. I mean...
Yeah, and it won't be conditional. I think you get 2 first rounders out of this, or you don't do it.
I agree. Yeah. That's his value. He's been playing unreal, and he's gonna get a good contract at the end of the season. So I mean, and he's not like a Duchesne, so he's gonna get a good haul for you. And it's like the same with Bobrovsky. That's another tricky one because he hasn't been playing his greatest season this year. So his value is just kind of up and down. You don't really know what you're really going to get for him or what you should get for him.
Yeah.
It's another complicated trade to pull off. The thing that really helped Bobrovsky is that Panarin changed his agent to Bobrovsky's. So I mean, it could go into a package deal, right?
Yeah, and the reports are they're both looking at Florida. Or at least Florida's in the mix. They've tried to trade away pieces that have significant cap for next year in order to free cap up to sign these 2 players.
Yeah, and if that does happen, then, yeah, my idea of them blowing it up might not be a good idea. But, I mean, yeah, like, I know I just kind of...
idea, eh?
Well, yeah. GM Braydon right here.
Bud.
But, yeah, no, Bobrovsky put himself into a good situation now, just with Panarin. It's going to be an interesting trade deadline for Columbus, to say the absolute least.
Yeah. So, is there any other talking points on players?
There's one guy that I think, just one more guy for me, that I think might do it. I think St. Louis isn't that team yet. I know you have a different idea of them. They're a decent team. I don't think they're a contending team. So I think Braydon Shen should be on the trade block. I think they should look at trading him. He has term. He could fetch you a really good prospect and another draft pick. And I think, again, I think Montreal would be a nice fit for Braydon Shen. He can play center and he can play the wing.
Absolutely disagree. St. Louis, if you look at that Central Division, St. Louis is on an unreal streak. They have perhaps one of the best defenses in that division playing right now.
Well, the division's not strong.
I actually think it's strong. It's just weak right now in terms of all the others play. Like to me, if I'm St. Louis, I'm going with intention to make the conference final. That's my goal going into the playoffs. You're looking at a team that were in a playoff position last year that made a decision to move assets out because at this point in time, they weren't doing that great. And they decided to sell assets in order to make the playoffs this year. So they've, in a sense, really invested into this year. So I definitely don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to hang on to Shen. I actually think that they're so well built based on prior moves that they won't really have to make any trades.
No, GM Doug Armstrong has done well with this team. I just don't know if you can bank on Binnington. I know he's been playing unreal.
Winnington,
there you go. He's been playing unreal. I just don't know if you can count on him in the playoffs. That's my thing. And Jake Allen has just I don't know. He's just fallen right off the cliff. So
true. But if that's your only point that you're bringing up in terms of that isn't good enough, Binnington's definitely going to be the starter next year, I think.
Oh, as of right now, yeah.
Yes. And I don't think that they're going to go out and sign any free agents. I don't think they should make any trades for any goalie. I think the best goalie you have, your St. Louis, is Binnington. So, to me, that argument kind of just doesn't work well if that's the only thing you're unsure of is the goaltending in St. Louis, to say, hey, let's trade off some assets because this isn't the year because we don't have a solid goaltending, even though our goaltender of the future is in net right now.
Where would they be if they didn't have Binnington right now?
I still think that they'd be in a playoff spot.
I disagree.
Binnington hasn't won them games. It's been the team. It's been Tarasenko. It's been O'Reilly. It's been their decor.
Okay, I agree to an extent, just because of the fact that they were just on a 3 shutout win streak.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not taking anything away from Binnington. I'm just saying this team as a whole has played well.
As of late, I don't think it's going to translate into the playoffs.
And it's veteran team that if I were to predict, I would have predicted that they would do well later into the season. So I'm not surprised by this. They're also built for the playoffs. They got big guys on the back end there. They play a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've always thought St. Louis was that dark horse team that's going to be that surprise, and I just thought they were going to shock a lot of teams. I don't see that right now. It's hard. They have talented guys. It's just that I don't know. I think they're a very streaky team. I get the defense. They have Pietrangelo, Parayko, and Bouwmeester at the back end there, and Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn's came out of nowhere and just lit it up too. So I do get that. It's going to be a tough road for them, I think.
All right. So, do you think that they can beat a team like Winnipeg?
No.
I think they can.
No.
First off, Winnipeg right now isn't playing well. So right now, I think they can beat Winnipeg. In the playoffs, who knows, right? But this is also a team that has taken a step right now. They could take even more of a step in the playoffs, that being St. Louis. Their back end, to me, they can be just as good as Winnipeg was last year, where they just have a bruising blue line and they play all 4 lines. They got veteran guys that play through injury. I think this is a team that, I'm not saying they're going to go far. I'm just saying you go in there looking to make the playoffs. You make trade deadline moves to make your team better. Yeah, that's my take.
I don't see them adding anything just because I don't think they want to give up anything. So, yeah. So with that being said, I think we're gonna end the podcast right there. Our trade deadline special.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. All right, so make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dirty Dangles HP and hit us up with your questions because we would love to do a segment involving you guys. And you guys can also check us out on YouTube, which you guys can drop us a like and subscribe to us so you won't have to miss a single podcast.
And we're on all podcatchers, so
exactly.
Just search us up.
Exactly. So, yeah, search us up, and we'd love for you guys to listen. But we really appreciate you guys listening in. And until next time, Dirty
Dangles.
Yeah.